Welcome back to my YouTube channel, and I hope you're having an amazing week. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make this cute bear and heart back charm. It's super quick and easy to make, and you can use it in so many different ways. You can use it as a back charm, but you can also use it as a bookmark or even a car hanger. For this project, you will need to know how to make the basic stitches, single crochet, the double crochet and the half double crochet. And you will also need to know how to join two parts together for the heart. So if you have a little bit of experience with crochet, then this is perfect for you. I have also the written version of the pattern, which you can find in the description box below. That being said, I hope you enjoy making this back charm, and let's move on to the materials. So these are the materials we will need for today's project. Alright, so let's make the bear first, and we're gonna start off by making a slip knot. So grab your yarn and create a U shape, and with your index finger you're gonna twist the yarn to create a loop. Wrap the working yarn with your index finger and thumb and pull through. And there's your slip knot. And now we're gonna make 6 chains. So now we have made 6 chains, and we will be skipping 2 chains because we will be working with double crochets. So insert your hook into the 3rd chain and make 1 double crochet. Pause here to mark your first stitch with a stitch marker. And now we have to make 4 more double crochets. So now we have reached the last chain, and we're gonna make 3 double crochets into the last chain. So now we have worked across one side, and we're gonna continue working on the other side, and we're gonna repeat the same process. So we're just gonna make 5 double crochets all across the chain, and then 3 double crochet into the last chain on the other side. And now remove the stitch marker and make a slip stitch into the first stitch to close the round. And now we have finished round 1. And we start round 2 by making 2 chains. Make a double crochet into the same stitch. Pause here to mark your first stitch, and in the next stitch we're gonna make 2 double crochets into one stitch. So again, 1 double crochet into one stitch, one double crochet increase into the next stitch. And we have to repeat this 6 more times until we have reached the end of the round. And now remove your stitch marker and place your slip stitch into the first stitch to close round 2. Moving on to round 3, we're gonna chain 2, make a double crochet, mark your first stitch, and then in the next stitch we're gonna make another double crochet, and then into the next stitch we're gonna double crochet increase, so 2 double crochets into one stitch. So again, 1 double crochet into one stitch, 1 double crochet into the next stitch, and now 1 double crochet increase into the next stitch. And repeat this 6 more times until we have reached the end of the round. So I'm gonna remove my stitch marker here and place a slip stitch into the first stitch. And now we have finished making one panel. We're gonna cut off the yarn and leave a long tail for sewing. And you can pause the video here to make the other panel. And now we're moving on to the sewing part. So we're gonna sew these 2 panels together. And you want to make sure that when you're sewing the 2 panels together, they are aligned properly throughout the whole process. So one way to make sure they're aligned while sewing is by using stitch markers. So I'm just placing 1 stitch marker onto the right side of the panel and 1 onto the left side. And I'm gonna do this for both panels, and the stitch markers should be 16 stitches apart because that's the half of the stitch count of round 3. And when I'm sewing and I reach 1 stitch marker and they are exactly on top of each other, that way you know the panels are aligned properly when you're sewing. Feel free to skip this step with the stitch markers if you're fully confident that you're going to sew the 2 panels together perfectly. Also, it's important to make sure you're not sewing into the slip stitches you have made, so you need to skip them. So I'm just using the whip stitch to sew all the way until we have a little gap left. And then I'm gonna pause here to stuff the head. And I'm also gonna use some scrap yarn, because why not? And yeah, you can see here I'm just adding a lot of stuffing, but to be honest, I removed also like almost half of it because I kind of wanted to have it like not too firm, but more like paperback texture, if that makes sense. But you can just stuff it however you like. If you want to have like a firmer head, then feel free to add more stuffing. And then I will be sewing the rest of the stitches all the way until we have sewn the 2 panels together. When you finished sewing the two panels together, you can go ahead and hide the tails. I'm just bringing the two tails together and then create a double knot. And then I'm just gonna cut off excess yarn and then hide the double knot. And now we move on to making the ears. So I have placed two sewing pins onto the head, and that's where I'm going to insert my hook. The sewing pins are around 10 stitches apart, but feel free to adjust the placements to your likings. So now I'm just gonna insert my hook into the first stitch where I've placed my sewing pin, and then with my hook, I'm going to pull through the yarn and chain one to make sure the yarn stays in place. And then in this stitch we're gonna make 1/2 double crochet, 3 double crochet and 1/2 double crochet into one stitch. So you don't need to move your hook into the next stitch or something, it just all happens into this same stitch. And your first ear is finished. Feel free to stretch it out a little bit and then cut off the yarn and fasten off, and make sure to leave a long tail to sew both ends together. And we're gonna repeat the same process on the other side. And it should now look something like this. And the last step is to sew both ends of the ears to the head. So I'm just gonna go over with my long tail of yarn, maybe once or twice should be enough. And with the other yarn tail, I'm going to sew the other side of the ear. And then I will bring these two yarn tails together to create a double knot. Cut off excess yarn and hide the double knot. And repeat the same process for the other ear. And now we have finished making the bear. And now we move on by making the heart, and I'm just gonna create a magic ring. And make 6 single crochets into the magic ring. Now pull the shorter tail of the yarn tight to create a ring. Mark the last stitch of this round. And now we can move on to round 2, and we're gonna make 6 increases. So 2 single crochets into each stitch. So now the first part of the heart is finished, so we can cut off this yarn, and you can just leave a short tail for this one. And for the second part of the heart, you're gonna repeat round 1 and 2, and this time don't cut off the yarn. Make sure to also mark your last stitch, and we're gonna work around the first part of the heart and then around the second part of the heart in the next round. So I'm just inserting my hook into any stitch of the first part, and we're gonna make 12 single crochets into the first part of the heart. And then make 12 single crochets into the second part of the heart. And you should be getting 24 stitches in total. Next, we're just gonna make single crochets throughout the whole round, and we continue doing that until we have finished round 5. So 2 rounds in total. And once you finished round 5, it should look something like this. Next, we will be making 6 single crochets. So now we have 6 single crochets, and then in the next 2 stitches, we're gonna make 1 decrease. I'm using the invisible decrease here, but you can use the normal decrease as well. I just think the invisible decrease looks better. If you don't know how to make the invisible decrease, I highly recommend watching a YouTube tutorial. I think there are lots of tutorials on YouTube on how to do that. So now moving on to round 7, and we're gonna start by making a decrease first, and then 5 single crochets, and we will be repeating this 2 more times. So before moving on to the next round, I like to pause here. And you see these long yarn tails? So you should have like a big hole between the 2 parts of the heart. And you need to sew it closed when you finish making the heart. So I just grab one of these long tails and then pull it through the hole with my hook. So I have a piece of yarn to sew the hole closed, and then we're gonna move on with round 8 and make single crochet and decrease. So again, single crochet into one stitch and then decrease into the next 2 stitches. And now I'm gonna pause here and start stuffing the heart. For the heart, I like to stuff it firmly. And now we have reached the last round, and we're gonna decrease all the way throughout this round. So now we have to sew both holes closed, so the one at the top and the one at the bottom. And for the bottom one, I just go over with my needle through the front loops. And I just pull it really tight to sew the hole closed. And then I locate it to somewhere in the middle of the heart. And then I'm just sewing the top hole closed. And I'm gonna bring it together to the other yarn tail to create a double knot. Cut off excess yarn and then hide the double knot. And there you have your heart. Now the only thing we need to make is the strap. So we make a slip knot, and then I'm going to make 70 chains. You can adjust the length to your liking. I did chain 70 because my strap of the back is pretty thick, but if you have like a thinner strap on your back, like a small shoulder bag, then 60 chains would be fine. And when you're finished making the strap, make sure to leave a long tail for sewing. And now I'm going to sew it to the head. And I'm just gonna go through the chain with my needle like around 2 to 3 times to make sure it's secure. And you need to do the same for the heart. I ended up leaving the video out when I was sewing the heart because it was just really hard to see on camera. I just started sewing like outside the screen, so sorry for that. But yeah, it's just the same process with the bear. And yeah, that is it for today's tutorial. I hope you enjoyed making your bear back charm. Please send me a photo of your creation, I would love to see it. And also let me know if you have any tutorial ideas that I should make next. Other than that, I hope you're having an amazing week, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!